Okay guys, so this is just a quick tutorial on different facial features. This one that I'm doing right now is going to be an eye and an eyeball. It's definitely better to have individual tutorials for the different features when we're doing our self-portraits. And there are some basic ways to go about this to make it easier. So hopefully this tutorial will help you with that. Okay, so when you're doing an eyeball, you always start with a circle. Our eyeballs are circles, so it's always a good starting place. And again, I'm using a digital program right now. You can use normal pencils or you could use digital. It doesn't really make a difference. It's mostly just about getting it in and getting it done properly. Okay, so I've got my eyeball, my circle. The next thing I'm going to do is add the lids, so the top and bottom lid of the eye. This is to create the shape. Now, your lid shape depends a lot on your ethnicity. So for example, Asians have more almond-shaped eyes, so people of Asian descent. People of South Asian descent, Caucasians, tend to have wider eyes, so more round in shape. This can go for Africans as well, although Africans are also sometimes known to have almond-shaped eyes. Indigenous people as well have almond shape. And again, like there's just a large variety. So what you're going to do is look in the mirror and kind of decide what eye shape works for you. Now I'm going to use my own, which are very almond shaped. And what I do is I start at the tear duct and I go up into a curve and then I come back down, depending again on the shape. The bottom part of my eye, so the bottom lid, I'm going to again start at the tear duct. I'm going to skim the bottom of the iris and then I'm going to come up again to create that shape. Okay. At this point, I'm going to change my tool here and I'm going to use the eraser and I'm going to erase the top part of the eyeball because I no longer need it. And then I'm just going to, for my sake, clean up this area because I want my eyeball to be just a little bit easier to work with. Now back to my pencil. Okay, so the next part is adding the highlight and the pupil. Our eyes are very viscous, so very, very wet, which means light reflects off them well. So I usually do a circle in the top right-hand corner for the highlight, and then attached to that, I do a second circle for around the same size actually for the pupil. Okay, now just for the sake of it, I will usually shade the pupil in with pencil, and then later when I paint, I'll shade the pupil in either dark brown or black. It's one of the rare occasions where I use black in an eyeball. Okay, once I have those two things marked in, the next thing I do is make this area, the white area of the eye, a little more circular. So I ensure that the tear ducts, are visible. And then I also add the bottom lid, so the lower lid. You can usually see it. Okay. Once that's in, I add the upper lid. Again, if you're an Asian person, you might have a hooded lid, which is a little harder. You start at the corner and then you follow up like you can see my pencil doing. And then you go like this. And that's a hooded lid. So that means you can't really see underneath the eyelid. Now, if you are not Asian and you have a very visible eyelid, it's very much the same. So you start at the corner again, but this time you're going to go up and you're going to follow this line, okay, to create the lid. And there it is. Now, the very last part about this is almost like the window dressing. You're probably going to want to add eyelashes. Eyelashes tend to be distinctly feminine in art, so for a male, you might just hold back and not add them, but for a female, you definitely do. And so you start on the line of the top lid and you do kind of a swooping motion out. And do not feel shy about overlapping them or changing the degree at which they curl. Eyelashes are not generally a uniform thing among women, so they can change. They can get long, they can be short. Okay, don't hesitate to switch it up. Now, the very, very last thing that you're going to do in this is you are going to work on the eyeball itself. The iris is not a flat color. So if you have brown, actually like my eyes are green, so I tend to have a darker ring on the outside of my eye, but some of you might not. I just add it usually because most people do. Even if you have brown eyes, around it tends to be darker. Then inside the eye, the iris around the pupil tends to have different variations of color, especially if your eyes aren't brown. So I do this to just add those variations to know that this area right here is probably going to be lighter, and then it's going to darken out to this area. Okay, once you're done that, at this point, you're probably ready to do the coloring. Now, if you're doing a Byzantine portrait, like I am, you're gonna add the bag under the eye like this. That's because for some reason they always add the bag and to show like the cheekbone. This is like a soft area, and then the orbital bone is right here. So you wanna add that in. The very last part, of course, is the eyebrow. It is a space that is different from everybody, but it follows the general shape of the eye. And please remember, eyebrows are hair. So you're going to do them like hair. You're not going to do like one strict line. It's going to be a little bit more like this with little swipes to create the hair structure. And they could be thin, they could be thick. It really depends on the person. All right, so that is the basics of drawing an eyeball. Of course, there are different things that you can do with them, different variations, a lot of it depending on what you look like specifically. So there's really no seriously one way to do this. What I'm doing is just giving you a generalized way that would work for a variety of situations. And feel free to take that and just kind of make it your own.